pretty sight to see. Not like the average kind, more like exotic wine. I want some of your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. It's the Brownsugar Commentary and I'm your girl, Kayla. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more videos about Black entertainment, Black womanhood, and whatever the heck else I feel like talking about this week. Alright, let's get right in to it. Actually, before we get right into it, for real, I just want to say shout out to all y'all, yes, you watching right now, okay? Because I reached a milestone on this channel. I got my first 100 subscribers the other day, and like, what? We love to see it. We love to see it, okay? As a small YouTuber, nothing makes me happier than to watch, see that people mess with my content and watch it. This started off as just a little thing to do to keep me busy during quarantine so I don't lose my mind, okay? And it has grown into one of my favorite things to do, and I'm just super excited to see where this channel goes. As we creep on our first year. I mean, it's not too close. Like, I think it's around September is when I made my first video, but you know what I mean? Like, this first couple of months has been so dope. And like I said, anyone who's ever commented, liked, shared my videos, or reached out to me talking about they've watched my videos, y'all are dope. Keep doing it. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and let's just see where we can go. Like, we get to 200 subscribers, 500, 1,000, the sky's the limit, to be honest. Okay, but yeah, and if you haven't subscribed, what you doing? What you doing? Go ahead, subscribe, okay? It's a party over here. It is a party over here, okay? I try to post, every week between Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. One of those days I usually like to post. I usually try to do it in mid-afternoon, even though in the past couple of weeks things have been a little bit weird, but I'm trying to get consistent, y'all. Bear with me. But yes, stay, subscribe for weekly videos. Like I said, it's a party over here. Join the gang, okay? I don't know to call everybody yet, but join the gang. So I reached a couple weeks ago, my Tyler Perry rant video, whatever you want to call it, reached 1,000 views, which is once again what, like, crazy. And that's really dope. That made me so happy. Like, once again, thank y'all for watching. If you guys have watched it, if you haven't, check it out. It's great. Okay. Thank y'all for watching, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. And yeah, and going right along now, let's really get into it, okay? Because I'm excited, okay? So, as I said in my Tyler Perry video, I said that Mr. Kenya Barris is next on my hit list, okay? It's time. The day has come, y'all, okay? And I kind of sat with this for a while because, as you know, I made my Tyler Perry video months ago, and I kind of waited to see because I felt in my spirits, the ancestors told me that this man was going to do some clownery, but I was like, when? When are they going to do the clown? And they said, just wait. Just wait. So I waited. And at first I was going to make the video the day I found out that Blackish is going to end after 7 seasons. I think when they go, or it's going to end in its 8th season. So the next season they're about to do is going to be its last season. As well as the spinoff Mixed Dish got canceled. And I think even Grownish is going to end soon as well. So, it seemed about that time to finally say how I feel about Mr. Kenya. But then today I logged on to the Big Blue app, as y'all know I do all the time, to get my content. Or I don't really get my content, but I usually get inspired by seeing conversations happening on Twitter. And I seen that Mr. Kenya is making yet another Ish series called Brownish. It's going to be basically about a Latinx family. I think the co-creator of the show is going to be Miss Eva Longoria. And why? Who asked? Who the hell asked for this? Like, not you. Like, yes, obviously there needs to be more Latinx representation on television. There really has not really been a lot of that, especially on like network television. But not Kenya, child. Like, no. No, baby. No. And it's just...
Oh, no. 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 No.
It's so funny funny because how everyone, that's how I know I follow the right people, because everyone collectively was like, the way we know that this cast gonna be light, bright, and damn near white, like the way he gonna act like Afro Latinos do not exist, is gonna be a sight. Like that damn people is not going to be no brown skin Latinos gonna be up in there. None. Not near one gonna be seen up in there. And that's exactly why we had to make this video, because the fact that he is so predictable and his anti-blackness or anti-dark skin, no, to be colorist is to be anti-black, and that's on period. Like period. And so the fact that you're that predictable in your casting choices, that's really deplorable and really just not a good look for you. And that's why we gotta have the conversation. So what I'm gonna do is go through who Kenya Barris is, talk about my issues with his shows, and then just who he is as a person, I guess, or not a person. I don't know that man personally, but just talking about my overall just gripes with him and his choices as a writer, producer, director, whatever. Okay, so first things first, who the heck is Kenya Barris, right? Kenya Barris is a writer, a producer, and a director. You know, he did a lot of writing on a lot of early 2000 shows, mid 2000 shows, comedies, things like that, like A Girlfriend's, The Game. He also is a co-producer of the hit reality TV show America's Next Top Model, which explains a lot now that we know that information. And you know, he does his biggest claim to fame obviously is he is the creator of Blackish, which is a huge, you know, sitcom that to come out of, I think it came out in 2014. I told you it has had things first. Before I even get into the video or to get into my digs about Kenya Barris, I want to give a disclaimer, as I did with Tyler Perry, because I know how people get about black creatives and things like that. Here's the thing. I am not here to bash people. I wasn't even here to bash Tyler Perry. My thing about Tyler Perry is that I just wanted Tyler Perry to do better, because he's a man of means and he's a man of power. And because you're a man of means and power, you have the power to make decent films. I'm not saying Oscar-worthy films, just decent enough. Same thing with Kenya Barris. Every show don't gotta be Emmy Award winning, but at the same time, you can also just not be colorist. Like that, it's $0.99, okay, free 99 to not be a colorist. And like I said, for me, as a person who tries to advocate for the ending of colorism in Black community, especially in Black entertainment, I'm going to speak on it. And so if you thought this was going to be a video of me coddling Kenya Barris, this ain't for you, and you should know better by now. If you do not know me by now, you ain't never gonna know me, okay? But yeah, like if that's what you thought this was, but I'm also not bashing him. My whole thing is do better. Like that's same thing with Tyler Perry, same thing here. So if you are a Kenya Barris fan, this might be the video for you. It might not be the video for you, okay? So you could go ahead and I'm gonna give you time to go ahead and leave, okay? Because this is not the video for you, okay? Okay. All right. Back to the video. Okay, 7 seasons. It has won Emmys. It's won Golden Globe Awards. It has won NAACP Awards, BET Awards, all that stuff. It helped launch the career of the wonderful Marsai Martin, as well as Yara Sahidi. And it's also kind of gave newfound fame to Tracee Ellis Ross and Anthony Anderson, as well as Jennifer Lewis and Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, and it has gotten 3 spinoffs. Yes, Grownish, Mixedish, and the upcoming Oldish. Even though I don't know if that's true or not, I'm gonna have to do more research in that, because I heard that was gonna be a thing, but I heard literally nothing about it. I don't know if it's because of Rona, why we haven't heard anything more about that show, but that was allegedly. He also is the creator and star of a Netflix original series called Black AF. And he's also done writing on contemporary works such as Little, Girls Trip, and Coming to America too. If you know, you know. Okay, and so let's get into Blackish first and foremost. This is the thing that kind of started it all, because like I said, Kenya has done a lot of behind the scenes work, but Blackish is literally his claim to fame. And so Blackish is kind of regarded as probably the biggest Black sitcom in the 2010s, because if you all know how television has been going in the past couple of years, or post 2000 and like or post mid 2000s going into the 2010s, black sitcoms were next to non-existent. Like, we did not see not much black sitcoms, and that's usually due to a variety of reasons. One, because the CW, basically, which used to be, I think, UPN, basically rebranded to be the White Teenage Network. And so all the current black shows that were on there basically got canceled. And that's hence why the reason why the game went to the BET in its later seasons was because the CW canceled it and people really liked it. So it got lucky, but shows like One on One and All of Us were not so lucky. They got canned and that was it. But because that network, there was no network television show that really cared about making black TV anymore, because I guess we're just not profitable anymore. And then the rise of, reality TV became a thing. So that's a lot of where we saw mostly black people. And there was the writer strike of 2008, which also caused a lot of shows to get canceled or have prolonged seasons or shorter seasons and things like that. I feel like that also played into why black shows got canceled and no one really was making shows like that or whatever. And so for a while, like I said, there was no black sitcoms. And so here comes Blackish, literally out of nowhere. And Blackish, you can see there's a lot of influences with shows like black shows that we love, like The Cosby Show, Family Matters, The Jeffersons, Good Times. I see influences of The Bernie Mac Show in there, as well as Everybody Hates Chris. Like, I can see a lot of hints and things about this show that I've seen previously in other shows. And to be honest, I can definitely see why people may like this show. But so Blackish basically is a show about the Johnson family, and the Johnson family consists of 5 children, and then Anthony Anderson's character, whose name is Dre, and then his wife Bo, played by Tracy Ellis Ross. And yeah, and they live with Dre's parents, who is Lawrence Fishburne and Jennifer Lewis's characters. And so this show basically is kind of like a little bit more of a radicalized, like I said, Cosby type of show about this Black American family. And Dre, who is the narrator for the series, he and kind of the main character, more so than the family. I guess it surrounds the family, but Dre is the main character, at least in my opinion. Dre kind of takes us through his everyday life and his struggles as a Black man who grew up virtually with a single mother and like a father who was in and out of his life, as well as growing up and kind of impoverished, so to speak. And he kind of did the pull your bootstraps up type thing, right? He does the right thing. He gets into Howard. He meets Bo. They get married. She becomes a doctor. He works in marketing. They make enough money to move on to the east side in the suburbs. And like I said, they have their kids and so on and so forth. And so a lot of this show deals with him kind of grappling with life as a person who grew up with kind of nothing and now he kind of has everything. And so he struggles a lot with, being the only Black person in the room, most notably like in his neighborhood as well as his job. And the show is kind of formulaic in how it tackles a lot of things. Like I said, what makes this show different than a Cosby Show or Family Matters or any of those type of shows back then is that it definitely tries to be up with the times. Like, it goes all the way there. Where those shows would kind of allude to like race and racism and things like that, most of those shows were trying to be appealing to just be a family that people would just like, so that more than Black people would like those shows. But Blackish definitely tackles a lot of things that shows like those did not do. Like, it talks about stuff like Juneteenth and police brutality and racism and all those type of things, microaggressions, colorism. Like, it does a lot of those things that like maybe those shows kind of flirted with but didn't really commit to. And so that's kind of why it's so critically acclaimed, right? And so how the show would go is that Dre would introduce a topic. He kind of navigates through this topic, and the show kind of, I guess, where it shines or what people like about it is that it shows these varying perspectives of Black Americans as well as just Americans in general, and like kind of that's what it is. Like, let's say that he wanted to talk about something like the barbershop. How this episode would go is that Dre would talk about the barbershop, right? He'll give a whole 5-minute maybe 2 to 5 minute presentation about what the barbershop means to the Black community, maybe the first time he'd been to a barbershop. And then in the episode, he maybe, like, let's say that his problem in this episode is that he has to find a new barber because his barber moved away. And so now he's going to try to find a barber closer to home or something like that. He's going to bring it up with his family members, and his family members are going to give all their varying perspectives on things. Then he's going to go to work, and his co-workers, who are white, are usually going to be clueless and don't understand the significance of barbershops, and he's going to explain it. And then you're going to have Dion Cole's character, who is my fave. I love him. He's definitely like a Waldo or a Cole type. He's kind of like, you know, the mall is open but no one's shopping type of character, and it's great comedic relief. And then you know, Dion's gonna give a 1-2 line to be funny, and then, you know, by the end of the episode he'll work it out, he'll find a barber, everything's great, you know, let's all sing Kumbaya, end of episode, because the show is only about 20 some minutes long. And so that's kind of how every episode goes. It can tackle anything from just typical family fatherhood stuff to actual issues that Black Americans go through. And while that sounds great on paper, I feel like the show, the problem with it is that it is, as the name of the show suggests, it's Black-ish. Like, you can tell that it wants to appeal to Black people, it wants to be the next great Black American sitcom, but where it fails is that it tries also too hard to be palatable to white people, and that's where it fails, okay? Because it's like, you're sitting there giving us a whole lesson about barbershops when we as Black people know what the hell you're talking about. If we see a character go into a barbershop, we know what type of scene we're finna get. Like, we know what being in a barbershop is like. We know what that is. We know it down to like the smell and all that. That's why why in Soul it was such a, you know, such a refreshing and amazing idea to have that scene, because it went without saying, like, it was able to encapsulate the feelings of being in a Black American barbershop without having to explain that this is a Black American barbershop. And this way, like it could have easily been like Joe's character explained to 22 that, oh, this is a barbershop and I have to get my hair done because like 22 was able to see what that was like just by the conversations and the vibe of what was going on. Like, and you as a viewer got to experience that feeling by the way that it was shot and the dialogue used and all that. And that's what Blackish's problem is. It does a lot of telling, not showing. You're a television show. You don't have to explain everything, but I know that's why it does that, because it wants to be palatable to white people. And I mean, that's probably also why it's able to have this longevity, because white people like the show and white people watch ABC, and that's what keeps the viewership high, because, you know, majority of America is white folks. So, you know, if you appeal to white people, you keep your show on, right? And you can't get too radical, because then the white people are gonna be uncomfy and now your show is gonna end. So it's like, I understand, but that comes at a cost, because now Black-ish is, like I said, just that, Black-ish, a show that kind of talks about Black people and the Black experience, but it tries to also appease white people at the same time. And it just also there's something that's just not iconic about it. Like I said, I can definitely see how people may think of it as an iconic show, but for me, I have watched only the first four seasons, and from what I gather, while I can recall certain episodes, they all kind of blend together. To say that I can remember specific like funny lines that characters have said or jokes and stuff like that, I couldn't tell you. Dozens of like funny lines from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Family Matters or even Martin. But to tell you that I know any like really funny moments of Blackish, no. And I know that maybe because of those early, like those 90s and 2000 shows, it has like the nostalgia factor, and that's probably why I can remember them so fondly. But no, like these shows were just so unapologetically Black that it never once tried to dull down its Blackness. Like, even like I said, a show like The Cosby Show, where both Black and white people enjoy that show, there were things that were, well, it was subtle things that made the show very much Black, like the Black artwork on the wall, you know what I mean? Like episodes where the family's reenacting, you know, Ray Charles Night and Day, like having Stevie Wonder on the show, like the fact that Cliff and Claire went to an HBCU, the fact that I didn't even know what that meant until I watched that show. That just shows you like it was Black without having to say we're blackity black. Like black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the problem with much of what Kenya Barris does. It's just this, and a lot of other of these like newer Black creatives. Like Lena Waithe is also guilty of this as well. Like this constant need to shout from the rooftop that this is for Black people, by Black people, but it just something is just disingenuous and inauthentic about it that makes it just not interesting. And it's like, because even a show like Insecure, once again, a show made fairly recently that I can name funny moments and funny things that characters have said and done, that is not trying too hard to shout to the rooftops that it's Black, but we as Black people love this show, and that's why I can appreciate a show like Insecure, because Insecure don't try to be nothing but itself. Like, it's not trying to be this Black show that's trying to tackle every Black issue. And that's where Blackish fails, I think. I think it's trying to do too much. It's either going to be a show about a Black American family, or going to be a show that's trying to talk about Black issues. And you know what else? It makes me think about, what was a show that did this perfectly, that had that good balance and that same varying perspective thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, how Blackish tries to tackle on all these characters that come from different backgrounds, and kind of like, how does each of these characters think about a particular Black issue? You know what show did that perfectly? The Carmichael Show. If you have not watched The Carmichael Show, do yourself a favor and watch it. It was on NBC. It only had about 2 seasons, I want to say, and it is phenomenal. I think it's a great show. I think it's very funny. It stars Gerard Carmichael, who's a funny comedian. It also had Little Rel in there. It had David Allen Greer, as well as Loretta Devine. Great show that deserves so much better, and does it, like I said, a show that does what Blackish tries to do so flawlessly. And I really wish that it got more seasons, because it was just so damn good. Like, and did it, and like I said, it went there and didn't care. And I guess, like I said, I wish that Blackish had it, but it doesn't. Like I said, I can see why people like Blackish, but if the Carmichael Show had 7 seasons, Blackish would never see that show on its best day. Okay, even with the 2 seasons, Blackish is not seeing it on its best day. I said it. Okay. But yeah, definitely check out the Carmichael Show. I think it's on Hulu. It was on NBC when it first came out, but yeah, it only has like 2 seasons, but it is a phenomenal show that does what Blackish tries to do. And no, like I said, I can definitely see the appeal. I get why Black people like it. Like I said, because it's literally the only Black sitcom, it's like kind of what all we got. But while the material is there, like I said, some of the best, I think that, like I said, I think that Marsai Martin is a icon in the making, okay? As well as I think Yara Shahidi has the potential to be a great actress as well. The guy that plays Junior is a phenomenal a phenomenal actor. I really hope he gets good work after this show. And of course, who does not love Jennifer Lewis? Who does not love Tracee Ellis Ross? Like, come on. But this show has its issues, and that's just that. And then, like, of course, the obvious, there are no dark-skinned women in this cast whatsoever, and there's no reason why it could have been that way. While I can respect the fact that the reason why Tracee Ellis Ross was possibly chosen for this role is because she's Tracee Ellis Ross, but also because she's biracial, because, that's integral to her character story, and why her character is the way that she is. It makes sense why she's biracial, but that makes sense. But then why is that 75% of this cast is biracial in real life? And like, this a bit questionable, just saying, okay? But that's Blackish. So that's my big gripes with Blackish. I think that it tries to be this Black American sitcom, but it just fails. It's missing that inauthenticity, and it's trying way too damn hard to appease to white people. And ain't no dark-skinned women in this cast, other than like Marsai is the darkest on this cast. Why is that? I also think that her character is treated a little bit differently compared to Yara Shahidi's character. And I don't think that's on purpose. So, if you're on TikTok, you know what that means. Okay. So next, let's talk about Grownish, child. Let's talk about it. So Grownish is the first spinoff to come out of the Blackish universe. And it basically stars Yara Shahidi's character, who is Zoe, and basically her life in college and the challenges that come with it. And when the spinoff was first announced, I was kind of excited because I was in college at the time, as well as I did like Zoe's character to some extent. And I love shows that watching movies about college, okay? Like, I just love to see it. I think it's always, like, I feel like when those shows are done correctly and those movies are done correctly, they're really just dope to see. Like my favorite television show of all time is, you guessed it, A Different Worlds. I love that show so much, especially post season 2 when Debbie Allen came in and shook the thing up, okay? It is my favorite show of all time. I could watch it a billion times and never get tired of it. I love it so much. I've been waiting for some type of modern day version of that show. And yes, we have Dear White People, but Dear White People is more satirical, and that show, while I like it as well, it does also have some issues there that I will, if you guys want me to, make a video about. But yeah. So, but when the cast was announced for Grownish, I noticed something. I noticed something very interesting. I noticed that nobody that was my shade or darker was on there. And I was like, no, I'm not here for that. Like, no. Does dark-skinned people not go to college? Like, is that what you're telling me? I didn't know that, because I was a dark-skinned person in college, and I seen plenty of people who was my same complexion and darker in college. So I was very confused as to why I seen a white girl and I seen a white Latina girl, who, by the way, is too damn old to be playing that role. Like, wasn't you on Secret Life of American Teenager? Like, ma'am, ain't you like 30-something? Why are you playing a freshman in college? And then had the nerve, they had her be a Republican. Like, what? Why? Why? But anywho, I mean, of course, we got introduced to the wonderful Chloe and Halle. At least that was my, like, real introduction to the wonderful duo that is Chloe and Halle. However, no, it's not enough for me to watch this show. And I mean, so I didn't really watch when it first came out, and then I did, and then, like, eventually I watched a couple of episodes, and then I saw a lot of videos of people basically talking about the issues with the show, and I'll link some of them below, because they'll explain it better than I can, because I don't really watch the show like that. But the problem with Grownish, at least from what I gathered from those videos, is, one, obviously, they ain't no dark-skinned women in the cast, and that's ridiculous. And then the show had the audacity to, like, address colorism in it. Like, the colorism that exists in this show is not because of y'all. Like, y'all casted these people, y'all wrote these characters, you write the scenarios the characters get into. How you gonna, like, what? And it's like, yeah, and see why you make a character the way that they are. Like, let's say, for instance, I remember in the colorism episode, basically they were saying that Trevor Jackson's character, I think his name is Aaron in the show, that he does not date darker skinned women. Like, he only dates lighter skinned or non-black women. And that's really interesting, because he's supposed to be this pro-black, for the people, by the people type of person. Like, that makes no sense. And yes, that's a valid topic of conversation, because yes, there are men in real life who will sit there and talk about Black Lives Matter and all those type of things, and then you ain't never seen them with no black woman ever. Like, questionable motives. I don't care. We all know that preference nonsense is BS, because it's on purpose, please. And so yes, that's valid, right? But then you bring this up in this episode just to be like, aha, we got you, you're not as woke as you think you are, but then go nowhere with it. We don't see Aaron go on to date a darker skinned woman. We don't see him even appreciate darker skinned women. It's just kind of like, oh, you don't date darker skinned women, and next thing. Like, don't bring up stuff just for the sake, because you know it's a topic of conversation. You want to be, you're regurgitating sound bites you hear off of Twitter, but you're not really going anywhere with it. At that point, just leave it alone. Like, I'd rather you just never bring up colorism at all than you to bring it up and then do it no justice, as a person who's very passionate about dismantling the system of colorism in the Black community. Like, no. Because, like I said, all the colorism that exists on this show is because of you. And it's the way that we had to bully Mr. Kenya Barris to finally get a dark-skinned girl on the cast just for you to do absolutely nothing with her. Like, how dare you bring the beautiful and talented Ryan Destiny into this thing and give her nothing to do? Please. What? And then it's just crazy. Like I said, the colorism episode, y'all ain't have no dark people. Y'all had to use Chloe and Halle. And that's no shade to Chloe and Halle. Like I said, I love them dearly. But when you think about colorism, you don't think about them. Like, and I'm not saying that they probably have gone through some form of colorism in their lives. That could be definitely a thing. But at the same time, you know, it's just crazy that because y'all couldn't find anyone dark, there's no dark complected person in this cast to have the true conversation about colorism with, so you had to use these two because they're the darkest ones. Like, and they not even dark. Like, they more so closer to being light skinned than to being my shade. Like, let's keep it a stack here. Like, that's ridiculous. And then just, you know what, my one more, and like I said, Grownish, much like Blackish, wants to be the next A Different World. Like, literally one of the times when they were advertising a new season, they did a recreation of the Different World opening theme thing. And so it's very obvious. Like, and then, like I said, they have moments where they want to appeal to young Black people, or, you know, Black people in general. But then, like I said, the show doesn't fully commit. It wants to be this quirky, interesting teen comedy or teen dramedy, but at the same time, it wants to talk about Black people stuff. Like, no. Pick a side, because you can't do both. Like, you're not A Different World. You will never be A Different World, ever. Because at least A Different World had dark-skinned folks in there. Okay? Shout out to Kimberly. Okay? Like, come on. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, no. No. And like I said, you can't make a show about it just tries too hard. Like, I remember there was an episode where they were doing homecoming, and they talked about homecoming and had, you know, Yara Sahidi's character dressed like Beyonce, and then finally all of a sudden the Black people in the school popped out of nowhere and there was step shows and things. It's just like, where were these people at this whole time? Like, what? Huh? Like, no. And it doesn't make, child, I don't get it. It's crazy that the show, I think it's called Big Trouble, the spinoff of The Fosters, is more pro-Black with 2 non-Black protagonists than this show that actually has Black people in their cast. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like, if you're gonna be a show about college, be about college. But, like, stop trying to be what you're not. Like, let's just don't force it. Don't force it, okay? Don't force it. But yes, that's my gripes with Grownish. Also, Zoe is just not a good character to give a spinoff to. I don't know why we thought that was a good idea. Her character is not likable. That's something that I knew for a show, which is why I wasn't fully confident in her being a protagonist of a whole spinoff. But like a lot of people who have talked about their issues with the show, mostly Zoe is usually the biggest issue because she's not a likable character and her character has not grown in 4 seasons. So it's just kind of like, what was the point? I feel like what they should have done was waited a year and give Junior's character the spinoff, because Junior was actually going to a HBCU, and you could have done like a new age, different type of world type vibe where there's a character who comes from privilege and comes from kind of a naive background and being around white people his whole life to being in a predominantly Black space, and what does that look like, especially in today's time. And Junior is a relatable and endearing character that I would have loved to see grow over the course of 4 years. Like I said, he's way more likable because he's relatable. Zoe's not relatable, which makes her not likable. Like, nobody wants to see the popular girl have her own show, the popular mean girl get her own show. That's like Regina George if she had her own. Like, if Regina George was the star of Mean Girls, you wouldn't watch it. It would be boring. Like, we root for an underdog, and Zoe's simply just not an underdog. They try to make her an underdog, but it just doesn't work. Like, so that's my tangent. It should have been Junior, justice for Junior, justice, you know, or even you wanted to wait till the twins went to stinking college, I would accept that. Like, it's just not believable. It's just not believable. I'm not here for it. Like, and that's why I never saw it for Grownish Child. Okay, so that's Grownish. That's my issue. Like I said, the biggest issue was obviously the fact that he has no dark-skinned people in the cast. What's that about? Okay, so next we have Mixed Dish. And you know what's crazy? Out of all these 3 shows, I like Mixed Dish the most, surprisingly. Like, while I did not think I was gonna like it at all, because I mean the name is kind of like what, and then like the trailer for this show came out, one of the things that was causing a lot of conversation to happen on Twitter was, you know, the whole thing with Tracee Ellis Ross's character, because that's what Mixed Dish is, a prequel type of show showing Bo's life before she is who she is now. And, you know, she basically grew up with she has a Black mother, white father, and they grew up in like this commune type of thing, and it was basically like a cult. And then, you know, the cult got basically taken down by like the government or something, and then they had to go back to regular life, and now they have to kind of navigate what life is like in the 80s as these people who never really basically, like, you know, like basically navigating life as this biracial person who, you know, ain't really seen in real life before. Like, she's never really been around other people. You know, she had like these free-spirited hippie parents, and now she got to deal with stuff like race and you know, microaggressions and things like that. But in the actual trailer for the show, it's shown like her and her siblings going to, you know, the school for the first time and going to find a place to eat at lunch, and it was a majority dark-skinned like kids at the table laughing at them because they're mixed. No, that is what you had to have seen how that was not gonna look right. Like, because there's already these narratives coming around Black people, especially when it comes to colorism, how there's reverse colorism, which I don't believe is a thing. That's foolishness. But basically that dark-skinned kids are just bullies and they're mean and stuff like that. And while that might not have been the sentiment by this scene, it just so happens that all these kids are dark-skinned, it's definitely how it came across, and it's definitely why a lot of people probably got turned off of this show. I only ended up watching it because my mom always watches ABC all the time, and I just wanted that time I was watching it, like the episode just came on, I said, let me just see what it's talking about. And like I said, the show's not bad. I mean, it stars Tika Sumpter, which is a dark-skinned actress that deserves work, and while she was technically freed from the shackles of Tyler Perry, she went right back to another oppressor. Okay? Because why y'all got my girl in this garbage? And he even got Mr. Zach Morris as the daddy, okay? And I like me some Zach Morris, even though I learned that technically nobody like Zach Morris is not the best character. However, I do like him. I do, okay? I'm sorry. That is a white man that I do like. But yeah, this show, like I said, I liked it. I mean, like, there was some issues, obviously, like even the characterization of Rainbow's aunt. She was definitely giving us very much sassy Black lady energy, which is, no. But you know, I can definitely see why it got canceled, because it just wasn't interesting enough to keep people's attention. But yeah, so that's kind of like where it starts in with Misses. I just think that that initial trailer was trash. But you know, I just think that the prequel just wasn't necessary. It was completely unnecessary, and it was overkill at this point. Like, no. So, and there's Black AF. I forgot. Oh, let's talk about Black AF for 2 seconds. So, Black AF, which was originally shown to be Black Excellence, I think was the name, but Twitter was not here for it, especially when we saw that cast yet again. And Black AF is literally just Blackish in a different font. Like, it's literally just like it's more, like I said, this show, you can definitely see like the Bernie Mac influence, where it's constantly breaking the fourth wall, and like the people, it's like a kind of like a fake reality show. But you know, it's basically like a fake reality show of Kenya Barris's life, and he kind of addresses a lot of things that issues that they have with him, and it's just like, it's funny how you understand the problems that people have with you and you continue to do the foolishness anyway. Like, it makes no sense. But once again, you should never have to make a show like a name with a title such as Black AF. You should already know that the show is Black AF based on how it is when you watch it. And once again, you have a biracial woman as your wife, and no, like Rashida Jones too. Like, first of all, the way that Rashida Jones has been playing a white woman in nearly everything she's been in since the dawn of time. Yes, I know that's Quincy Jones' daughter, but this woman, I should say, I can't stop calling people girls, but this woman has always been in a lot of like white people stuff and never has alluded to the fact that she has a hint of Blackness in there. If you didn't know any better, other than like her having a slight tan to her, you would have thought at the very least she's spicy white. Like, please. So now you Black AF, like, girl, please. And then you have, once again, all the cast members is damn near, they're all biracial, okay? Or they're very light-skinned. And it's like, again with you, like, what is this? And like,
are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
like I said, the show just does a lot of him talking and trying to make excuses for what he does. He's quite aware that he's always trying to he cares. Like one of the big, I guess the big issues from what I gathered, at least from what I saw from the trailer and like clips of people who have shared the show, is that Kenya, you know, is very concerned about what white people think, and you know, especially when it comes to his work. And like there was even a scene where he's asking other Black creatives. I think Issa Rae was in there, Will Packard, and I think Lena Waithe was also in this, where he was like group FaceTiming them and saying, "Oh, do I care too much what white people think?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think you do." Da, da, da. And it's like, is that really? And then there was a whole scene with Mr. Tyler Perry himself, where Tyler Perry talks about how he does not care about critics. He doesn't care about what people think about him. He makes the type of stuff he makes for his people and da da da. And while that can be endearing, it's like, but you are exploiting Black women's pain for profit. And you don't even have, your workers can't even unionize. You don't even have a writer's room. I think you should shut the hell up. Like, you should not be taking advice from Mr. Tyler Perry. So sorry about it. Like, that's not the place to go for you. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and so that's the problem with Black AF. Once again, none of the cast members is dark in the paper bag. Two, it's trying way too hard once again to be this super Black and, you know, staple Black sitcom type of show, when, like I said, none of the cast is darker than freaking a paper bag. And it's doing a whole lot of nothing. Like, it's just not a good show. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like I said, I know people who enjoyed the show, but I know a lot of people who didn't, and I can completely understand why. Like I said, that show will never get a full no. I would never be sitting there watching this show. That's stupid. Why would I watch a show called Black AF? Like, what? Ask yourself that. Like, why would you watch a show with that title? That's just stupid to me. Like, and so that's where we kind of at with it with Mr. Kenya Barris. Mr. Kenya Barris, like I said, the potential is there. It is. Because like I said, there are things about, like I said, I think that Blackish is a decent show. I think that Mixed was a decent show to an extent. But I think that because he does not know if he wants to make good Black content, or content that appeases to just only Black people, because he wants to be getting into rooms where he can make more shows, and I think he's supposed to be producing or directing a new Cheaper by the Dozen with Gabrielle Union and Zach Braff. Zach Braff? I ain't seen that man since Scrubs, child. Like, but that's how he gets to do that. That's how he gets to write on Coming to America 2, which is just a colorist piece of garbage. Like, that's how he gets to do that, because he is a man that can appease a certain group of Black people as well as a lot of white people. And that's the problem, because at what cost do you have for your success? Like, let's be honest here. Like I said, there's no reason that you have 4 television shows, and the darkest person that you have on the show is Tika Sumpter and Marseille Martin, and they not even that dark. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's not making sense. And like I said, the fact that, like I said, anyone hears your name and they know whatever production that you're gonna make, you don't have, like, a dark-skinned family is just not in your cards to make, it's ridiculous, because people like me exist. People who are darker than me exist, and we deserve to be seen on TV. As a man who has a lot of power, allegedly, you know, you have the power to give darker skinned actors and actresses work, and you choose not to because you want to make 50-11 versions of Blackish. Like, we get it. You have a biracial wife. Good for you. Like, you don't have to keep making the same show over and over again. Like, it's not doing what you think it's supposed to be doing. Like, let's do something else. Like, at this point, like I said, you want to make content, let's show all types of Black people, and not like in stereotypical ways, like fully 3-dimensional, like fleshed out dark-skinned women under the age of 30, okay? Like, because no, it's just not giving what you said it's supposed to give, Kenya. And like I said, I just think that there is a overall agenda on the erasure of dark-skinned young girls as well as women, because people just think that dark-skinned women like are born at the age of 40 and is your therapist or sassy secretary or sassy nurse or whatever, or somebody grandma, when that's clearly not the case. And it's like, we deserve better. We deserve better representation. And if you're going to be a person who wants to pride himself on making Black content, then make Black content that includes dark-skinned women. And like I said, in a positive way. And then we can finally have the conversation. I can finally give you whatever. But until that day comes, I'm going to drag you every time until you do right by dark-skinned women. Everything you do gonna get dragged, Kenya. Everything you do gonna get dragged. Period. Because there's no excuse at this point. There's literally no freaking excuse that this is still a thing with you. Like, come on. Come on. Come on. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Mr. Kenya Barris and his many television shows and kind of the trajectory of his career thus far. Let me know what you think. Do you watch Blackish? Do you enjoy it? Do you watch Grownish? Did you watch Mixish? Did you watch Black AF? Like, let me know about what you guys think in Kenya Barris's casting choices and how he just chooses to ignore that dark-skinned people exist. Let me know all your opinions in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will definitely see y'all in my next video. Peace out.